Drink it in, man.
Deep left side carry on. Picks on the block. At the 5. At the 2. At the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws. It is end zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Kenny Galladay, you're a freak! What a catch! Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Cornbread! I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
Allstate wants to remind fans that mayhem is everywhere. Like when your fantasy league meets up at your house. Everything's great until the hot plate gets too hot for the tablecloth. Now your kitchen's up in smoke. And if you don't have the right home insurance coverage, the cost to fix this is anything but a fantasy. So switch to Allstate, save money, and get protected from mayhem like this. Not available in every state based on coverage selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Savings vary.
This episode is brought to you by Azo. Ever felt off balance down there? Introducing Azo Vaginal Health Products. Azo Complete Feminine Balance helps restore the balance of good bacteria. And if you want protection from yeast and urinary tract issues, try Azo Dual Protection. Save 20% with the promo code PODCAST at azoproducts.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Detroit Koolaid, what is going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of the fantasy football flavor right here on the podcast. And Chuck is back again here on a Monday. Chuck, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Oakley, it's good to be back. Getting excited about fantasy football and all the mini caps and everything starting. It's going to be a good time.
Have you lost any leagues since I last talked to you? Have you found any websites that actually keep data, or are you looking for newspapers, or what are you doing?
You know me, Derek. I do them both.
All right, cool, man. Well, a couple weeks ago, you mentioned, hey, Oakley, aren't we going to talk about quarterbacks? And I was like, let's wait on the quarterbacks. You know why I said that?
Why?
Chuck Dog, quarterbacks to me in fantasy football are their own breed, man. In the National Football League, it's all about the quarterback. You overpay your quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, you got nothing. In fantasy football, man, I feel like it's kind of the total opposite in most leagues. I wait as long as I can for a quarterback. I fill up all my other positions, and then I snag whoever's available at quarterback. I can win championships with bumskis at quarterbacks. It's a whole different world, man. What are you thinking about the quarterback position?
Oh, I agree. I agree with you 100%. The only time that quarterbacks really make a huge difference in fantasy football is when you get some of the quarterbacks that actually run for touchdowns. When you get a few of them that put in 4 to 6 rushing touchdowns a season, those guys tend to, give you a little bit more points than what the other ones do.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So you make that a point to sort of, look at the top guys, but if you got a guy that's got some legs on him or is going to score some touchdowns or can run the football as well, you're going to maybe elevate them a little bit.
I would, yeah. I elevate them up a little bit, like I said, because you can still get 6 points for the rushing touchdown. Now,
if he's a great runner and he plays quarterback, but he can't throw with a damn, what do you do with him? Lamar Jackson.
Kind of like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of a touch and go, depending on how you want to do it, I guess. Me, I tend to stay away from those guys. Because, like I said, the rushing touchdowns you only get, the most I've seen, I think, from a quarterback is around 6 to 8 in a year. And that's about, what they'll get. If they can't throw the ball, then, you have to count on them for 6 to 8 touchdowns of rushing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love a running quarterback if I can get it, but I'm not going to take it over a guy that can do both or that can sling it because how about 4 points or 6 points a touchdown are you normally in when it comes to quarterback? I know people are kind of split on this. I've always leaned sort of where a lot of my leagues are going to drop down to 4 points for a passing touchdown just because you get so many of them these days. I mean, these guys are throwing 40, 50 touchdowns. 30 is like the low bar for a really good quarterback now, so you can't be having 6. 6 points, I don't think, when a good running back's year is 12 touchdowns. So if you make 6 for running backs and 6 for quarterbacks, and quarterbacks are throwing 40, that's a big difference, man.
Oh yeah, especially like Patty Mahomes. He put in so many throwing touchdowns last year. If they were 6 points apiece, that guy should be the number 1 pick overall.
Exactly. So you're more of a 4-point guy?
Yeah, most standard leagues are 4-point. I did play in a league where it was 6 points, and that was some crazy high scoring points.
Right. The minute you see 6, if everything else is pretty much equal, you're just saying okay, and then second, third round comes around, you're snagging up your first or second quarterback at that point. Everyone's like laughing at you, but you're just saying, well, these guys scored 2/3 more than most people. So yeah, I think you got to go the 4. It is nice to get those 6-point rushing, and a guy that can do it both and do it both at a high level is great. Let's dive into some names, man. I've got kind of a crazy list here, so I want to toss this to you first. As far as give me some of your names in order of quarterbacks in 2019 when Chuck's looking at fantasy football quarterbacks.
Well, when I'm looking at the top fantasy football quarterbacks, I'm looking at Patty Mahomes. Right now, I believe is the number 1 guy. To me, number 2 would be Andrew Luck. He's one of those guys that throws a lot, and he's able to run the ball as well. 3 and 4 were kind of a toss-up for me. I was going back and forth. I like Drew Brees, and I like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson obviously gives you that running threat, where Drew Brees is not much of a runner, but, Drew Brees always tosses up a ton of touchdowns. The number 5, I've got Aaron Rodgers. It's just Aaron Rodgers. They're always slinging the ball out in Green Bay. 6, I got Tom Brady. 7, I got Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield might turn some heads this year because he's got so many weapons out there in Cleveland that he should put up, 30-plus touchdowns this year. Then, I got like Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger. They're all like in the next tier down, I believe.
Okay. I like that list, man. It's kind of like you started off with a couple younger guns, and then you went back to the old and trusty, and then you got the kind of the good guys, but not the elite, kind of at the not the bottom, because they're kind of still at the next tier as you put it in your list. But I like that list, man. You want me to school you now?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Let's see.
Okay, so again, this is the Oakley quarterback list, and this is I wait on quarterbacks list. This is there's a new sheriff in town type quarterback list. I really, when I was making this, I thought, okay, I'm gonna lean towards dynasty as I normally do. I'm also gonna go for excitement level, which is often fun at fantasy football, and I'm also gonna say, hey, if I can basically get a quarterback late, I'm going to chalk up that I'm probably going to miss out on the Aaron Rodgers of the world. People are probably going to overdraft Drew Brees, in my opinion. The guy's, 41 years old. So this is my list, man. Pat Mahomes, you can't go wrong at number 1. But number 2, in 2019, man, I got to go with this guy. His name is Baker Mayfield. I think that's how you would say it if you were a Baptist preacher. He'd say, it's Baker Mayfield. Can I get an amen?
I think you're probably the only one that says it like that, but we'll go with it.
Oh my gosh, I love everything about this guy, man. His moxie, he's got crazy weapons. He's got a name that you can say, Baker Mayfield. This guy is something else, man. And like you say, he was kind of rookie last year. Everybody probably either went undrafted or was picked kind of as a second, third quarterback. Now I'm just so high that I don't know what it is. Like, everyone's sort of, maybe he's a Brett Favre type. I just see this guy as can make every throw. He's very accurate. He's got every weapon. He's, this is a team that's never really had a quarterback that could do anything. So everything this guy's going to do is going to be magnified. So I just put him all the way up at number 2. Love his game, which was crazy because I bumped him ahead of my other guy. Mr. Watson, Deshaun Watson. I mean, this guy,
Deshaun.
Oh my goodness, this guy. The minute he came on the scene, I remember when his coach, remember, what'd you say, Debo last week? What's the guy?
Oh,
What's the coach at Clemson? How do you say it?
Oh man.
Depot. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't know what his name. The coach of Clemson. He's got a funny name. He's from the
Right.
South, but he was like, if you pass up on Deshaun Watson, you just took Sam Bowie because this guy's Michael Jordan. And I was like, oh baby. So Deshaun Watson is Jordan in cleats. I mean, this guy looks the part. He just is cool as a cucumber. He can run. He can throw. I absolutely love it. Threw Andrew Luck there at 4 just because, again, the youth factor. He seems to be over the shoulder issues, smart as could be. I mean, every year he's been healthy. He's basically a top 1 or 2 quarterback, I believe. Then you had a good point about what do you do with a Russell Wilson type. He kind of runs it more. Is he better than Drew Brees? But he doesn't throw it nearly as much. I mean, you got to kind of weigh that. But Russell Wilson always seems to put up stats. I don't know what it is. Like, they're barely throwing the ball 20 times a game, and this guy's always up in the upper echelon. He's scoring all types of touchdowns and all types of levels. So I put Russie in there. And then this is my wild card, man. Carson Wentz. I don't know what to think about him. Like, everyone's higher on him than I am, but if he's really back from his knee injury, I like what Philly's done with their team. I think he's young, has ability, and has that kind of heart that he could jump up there. Then in my middle pack, I got ranked in this order: Brady, just because he's the GOAT. Drew Brees, because like you said, he throws it all over the field, but he's old as could be now. And then just out of spite, Aaron Rodgers. And then my bottom 3, just because, again, they're in good teams, good offenses, and they just do it every year: Matt Ryan, Dak, and Big Ben. So that's kind of how I broke it down. Now, I know the easy way to go, the Grifka way, is Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck, Drew Brees, the same old you see in every magazine you find at Barnes & Noble. But I went a totally different route here, thinking if you're going to wait on quarterbacks, why not get aggressive and target, a guy like, I don't know, Baker Mayfield. That's number 1, or Deshaun Watson has a good name for that too. Deshaun Watson. Yeah. So those would be my top 2 targets. If you could wait a little bit longer and peg one of those 2 while everybody else is getting these guys that used to be the cream of the crop, that's what I'd do. Yeah,
I mean, I like your list. I went a different way. I just named the best quarterbacks that were out there. You in a way of strategizing on who you would take in later rounds and this and that. And, the list was good. I mean, I don't mind. Like I said, I don't mind Baker Mayfield being up that high because, like I said, he's got all that those playmakers around him. There's no reason why he shouldn't have a great year. And he's got a little bit of speed to him, too, so he can run a little bit.
He does have legs, and there's something to be said about that swagger. That's why I think Mahomes had all that last year. He was not afraid to throw the football anywhere. I mean, it's not that hard to get the ball to Tyreek Hill and have him help you out. I mean, what do you think's going to happen when Baker Boy guns in a slant to Odell and he just does the rest? I mean, it's going to be dances in the end zone. It's going to be fun in Cleveland. I mean, I'm excited to see it. And you talked about strategy, Chuck. Like, we talked about it off the top, but here's what I do. Seriously, in an 8, 10, or even a 12-team league, I will literally sit there and just absolutely wait it out. Like, I'm taking skill positions until they run out of steam. I'm just waiting on my tight ends, and then I'm taking my quarterback after everything else is filled. Because even in a 12-teamer, most teams are going to take 2 quarterbacks. So that's 24 out of 32 quarterbacks. That still leaves a crop towards the bottom of guys with upside. So, like I said, the longer you can wait, the better your team is going to be at the end of the day, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad strategy at all. The only thing is that you don't want to wait so long that you're left with these guys that aren't going to put up any numbers, even though they might be good quarterbacks, but they're stuck in a pretty bad offense where they just don't put up a lot of numbers.
So you subscribe to that though, because everybody talks about, well, don't wait too late. Like, I'm telling the people, the Kool-Aid drinkers, to wait too late because everybody else is doing your strategy. Oh no, I don't want to miss out on this last tier. Let me take, take Dak before everything runs out, when you could just wait another 3 rounds and probably get Big Ben. You could take a risk on a Stafford this year. I don't think the drop-off's that big. So, maybe there's a tier in that top 4 or 5 that you maybe want to hit on if you want to get one, but I'd say just hold your water and wait.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But what I was saying, if you start seeing some of those guys go, like Big Ben, all these guys that are usually the third tier for fantasy football, if you start seeing some of these guys go, then you don't want to wait too much longer.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that, but you also don't want to fall into these runs, just because everybody else is taking quarterback. While they're taking quarterbacks, what are you doing? You're loading up on running backs. You're stacking up your fifth wide receiver while they just went and took, Matt Ryan 2 rounds too early. So, I don't get caught up too much in the run is about to start. I just say, okay, how many good people are left versus who else can I get instead of them? And if I can get a really solid running back, I'll take them over the quarterback any day, no matter who's left, because like I said, I just did the math. Like if they take all those quarterbacks, I'm still going to have a pick of 10 that are going to be pretty much fine, in my opinion. Like I said, I've seen it work out too many times where you can just hold out, wait, and you're going to love your team. And yeah, okay, you didn't get a top quarterback. I think you're still going to be able to compete rather than the reverse. Hey, in the third round, I took Aaron Rodgers. Okay, great. Come back and tell me what your receivers and running backs look like here in 3-4 rounds, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I won the league last year with my quarterbacks with Jameson Winston and Magic Man.
Beautiful, yeah. Perfect example. Like, you were stacking up, and then at the end you took those guys, and they put up plenty of stats to get you to the championship and win it. So, absolutely, man. So everybody out there, if you can, don't fall into what everybody else is doing. Wait on quarterbacks. Keep your eye on them. Try to get a good one at a good price, but wait. Don't overpay. That's my advice. You got anything else on QBs before we move on?
Nope. That's all I've got on that. I think we've worn down that subject pretty good.
Yeah, but it's important. I'm glad we waited because, again, we could spend more time on it because, the quarterback and the tight end to me are the two flip positions of fantasy. When do you get them and who do you get is can make or break your team. So I'm glad we made it here on this separate show. Now, Chuck, we are going to move on. And you know what we're going to move on to? One of my favorite / non-favorite topics.
All right, let's do it.
This is the topic of those annoying idiots in your fantasy team. Those jabrones, those jamokes, those Rudy Poos that show up to your draft and have all these annoying things about them, and they act like, that you're the annoying one. Like, let's run down some of the most annoying things that you find in fantasy football. I've got like a 6-year-old's Christmas list here of stuff where you roll it out, and the list just never stops. I mean, talk to me about these annoying fantasy football people, and why are they in your league?
I could have, like you said, I could have wrote a whole book on this. I could have a whole book on this stuff, but I just wrote down a few things. Nothing irritates me more when you get to a draft. In my league, Derek, I had before I never had a time limit because there's only 8 of us in this super league, and I'm like, I never had a time limit on it until it started getting abused, and I can't stand the people that come in there and it's their pick, and it's like 5 minutes into it. I'm like, man, what are you doing?
Is their head buried in a laptop?
Just either in back then it was like a book, but yeah, now it's laptops. Their face is just inside them. I'm like, what are you looking at? You should have an idea of who's available right now. It should only be maybe a choice of maybe one to two people, and you should be able to grab somebody. But it's like 5 minutes into it, and finally, like, we'd get discussing about some things. I'm like, wait a minute, is that still his pick?
Oh, yeah. The take too long guy is ridiculous.
Yep.
Chuck, you know what really annoys me, man? It's that guy that shows up to the draft with a magazine. Oh, wait, no, I'm just kidding. That guy's all right, I guess. I mean, he's going to lose because I got my head in a laptop with all the real data. But no, seriously, the guy that annoys me, man, is the I'm too busy guy. The guy that signed up for your fantasy league, still hasn't paid his dues, complains about every rule, but then when you're trying to set up the draft, everyone's like, oh, yeah, we're cool with whatever, we'll figure it out. And you got one guy who just has the busiest schedule ever, acts like the world has to completely stop for him to do 2 hours of fantasy football drafting. I mean, that just drives me nuts when one person acts like their life's so busy and everybody else is just sitting around with nothing to do. I can't stand it. And I've always told people, fantasy football is supposed to be fun, man. You're supposed to enjoy it. It's not supposed to be some ridiculous thing. I gotta go to my draft. That should be something you enjoy. And these people act like they're just too busy for everything. I can't stand that.
Yeah, no, you should never have to dread to go into a fantasy football. If you're dreading going to a fantasy football, then this isn't for you.
Yeah. Hey, Grifka, get out.
Get out.
So we both have this one on our list. What about the pays too late guy? The guy that every time you ask him, hey, where's the league dues? He comes up with some excuse, forgot my checkbook. Who the heck's uses checks anymore, bro? And then he's like, oh, man, I was going to bring it. I forgot. Oh, my wallet's not here. Oh, I'll get you next time. Like, are you kidding me? It's usually like pennies, compared to his other bills, yet he can't fork over this dough. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, I've been fortunate enough in my league where everybody brings I send them texts out. Everybody brings the money right then. They don't bring the money right then, they're not drafting for me.
See, but that's so dumb. You got to put those type of rules, because I've got to that point too. I collect way ahead of time, and I'm just like, I can't mess around anymore. Where I used to take people face value. Okay, get it to me when you can. Nope, don't do that anymore, because by the time they get it to you, they're out of the playoffs, and that just doesn't work. So, pays too late guy I got issues with. You know who I got issues with too, and I know this is on your list? Auto pick guy. The guy that is in your league. He's too busy for everything. He hasn't paid
Mr. Laptop guy.
He hasn't paid his dues. He's got to head into the laptop. His magazine didn't show up on time, and he's like sitting there going, "Oh man, I'm just too busy." And he goes on auto pick, screws up the rest of the draft for everybody. You're looking at him going, "Why do we have this guy in our league? He talks big noise all year like he knows football, and here we are at our one draft for 2 hours." And in round 3, he's on auto pick because he's quote unquote too busy. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, those are the guys too that they irritate me, because they end up doing a decent job throughout the draft. Like their team will end up being decent, and then they'll brag about it. I'm like, man, you didn't even do anything.
Right. Yeah, that is double dip right there. Of like again, it's usually one night. It's maybe a draft might last a couple hours. Yet this guy either can't make it, or if you're doing it all online, he just drops off. Oh man, sorry, my phone wasn't working. My computer messed up. Are you serious? Just absolutely ridiculous. You got another one on your list?
I do. I hate the guy that complains about every trade, and he never makes a trade throughout the whole thing.
Right.
Two teams could put together a great trade that benefits them both, and he'll complain about it the whole time. And he never even offers a trade, never does anything for trades, and he just lets his team marinate. I'm like, come on, make some moves. If you're not happy with the trade, offer something. Those guys get my nerves, man.
The reason I love you brought that one up, because we had that in one of my leagues here recently. They started going into the not only commenting on everybody else's trade about how unfair it was, or there must be a conspiracy, or oh man, that's making the league unbalanced. They were coming in with all these JFK conspiracies. So I turned to these guys and go, hey, if you want to waste your entire life going to figure out what the big issue is, or play trade police, be my guest. Come back to me with your results. Didn't hear one more word from them since. They have not said a peep. And it's just like everybody just wants to complain. And when you say, okay, go do the work, go figure out what the issues are, they don't want to do that. So I was just like, you always have that guy, though. Like you said, not only does he not make trades, but when every trade that goes down, oh, man, that's unfair. Oh, you got robbed. Oh, this is ridiculous. It's just like, shut the front door, man.
Exactly, yeah. And there's websites out there that you could put the trade offers in them, and it'll give you like a trade-o-meter to see if it's fair or not.
Right.
If you don't like it, put it in there. If you want to be that guy, then do it.
But my point is, if you're not involved, why do you care? It's like, oh, I want the league to be fair. And it's like, everybody has their own thoughts on trades. It's like asking about their favorite ice cream. Like, you're not going to tell the other guy what his favorite should be. Like, you're just sitting back there talking noise at that point. Like, everybody has their own opinion on these players. So that's a great one. Oh my gosh. Let's just give a couple quick other ones. I've got down here, the rules don't apply to me guy, the guy that we have a set of rules either in the rule book or hey, this is what we're doing and why. And yet every year he either says, oh, I didn't know we had a rule on that, even though we've had it for half a decade. Or the guy that just flaps at all the rules and thinks, hey, you got to keep 3. And he just decides he's going to keep 2 guys to outthink everybody. It's like, hey, no, dummy. You got to keep 3. This is like a rule that applies to the league, not just to everybody except you. Right. Yeah, I can't stand that guy who overthinks or thinks he's outsmarting when really he's just being that idiot who doesn't want to follow the rules everybody else is following. If everybody else in your league has agreed to something, there's a reason why. It's not just for them, and then you're some special case. Ridiculous. Or what about I didn't know guy? Like I just said, I threw him in of like, you've had the same rule for 4 years, but in year 3 or 4, oh man, I didn't know we had that. It's like, where you been the last 3 when we had the exact same setup?
Yeah, and with my league, I give everybody a copy of the rules. Every draft, I come with a copy of the rules. And sure enough, one guy then there, oh, what do you mean? Well, look at the rule sheet I just gave you.
See, the copy is good, but people were telling me, oh, you got to make what do they tell me when you're like, you got to make a constitution. I'm like, really? I got to sit down with my valuable time and write out some big Google sheet and think about every little nuance that you might want to complain about so that I have it in black and white. Like, how about we just use common sense and not be fools? How about that? And he was just like, so now every year, even though I had some buddies help me do that. It doesn't matter what you write down on paper. Like, these people are going to come up with something. Like, why didn't you have that in the rules? Like, because no one else except you has an issue with that.
Oh yeah, there's always that person.
Oh my goodness, that's a great one. Yeah, man, we could go on for days. I just think, like you said, we want to be in fantasy leagues with friends. We want to have a good time. We don't want to hem and haw over all these rules. Yeah, we want a fair league. Yeah, we want, good trades, good competition. I like fun trash talk too. He's got that guy who, like, you say one half thing funny about his 4th running back, and then he goes after your family or your first of kin, and you're like, really? I was just talking about that, that CFL running back that you drafted in the 4th round. I know there's nothing to get personal about. So I think these guys, we just need to find good people to do fantasy football with, and like anybody that's fallen outside that, I'm a proponent of just kicking them, getting them out of the league as soon as possible. There's always other people you can fill that spot with if you got one of these annoying jamokes in your league. Yeah,
absolutely. I just had one more to touch on. I absolutely hits my nerves when you get the same guy that offers, I call him the nothing for everything guy. He'll offer you like this 4th and 5th guy for your number 1 and number 2. And then why aren't you taking the trade? Come on, man.
Yeah, that is the best. It's like you said, it's your number 1 pick for a bunch of guys he got in the last couple rounds, and then he throws it on you like you're being difficult to deal with, or like, man, Chuck, he never trades. It's like, no, I don't trade with you.
Right. You see a lot of trades going across the board, but they're just not with you.
And then that same guy's the guy that will resend. Like, you'll decline the 1 and he'll tweak it. He'll throw in like, okay, you decline that. Let me throw in a 4th tight end. That'll get it done. And you're like, no. And then you got
the number 1 kicker in the league. Take that.
Yeah, like, oh man, I just dropped a kicker on there for you. You can't decline it now. And you're just like, no. So yeah, that's another perfect one, man. The guy that not only makes bad trades but consistently sends them to you over and over again. Like, you're going to change your mind one day. Go, hey, remember that kicker? Remember that kicker for Odell? I want to do that today. Yeah. That sounds good today. Oh man, tremendous. Like you say, hilarious. Everybody knows what we're talking about. Everybody has those in our leagues. So Chuck, man, I think let's do a little bit of a shorter show. We got quarterbacks in. We got some annoying people. We got some things off our chest. And me and you, I know, are just guys that love fantasy football. Can't wait till our drafts. I've already had a few. I've been promising the people to tell them about the Oakley Detroit Lions on Reality Sports Online. So I'm going to have to knock out that show here hopefully this week. I promo it for 2 weeks now, so I got to get that done. But I thought another good show, man. Let's come back next week and talk some more fantasy football with the people.
Sounds good, Oak.
All right, buddy. Take care. Thanks again, everybody out there listening. Share this with a friend. Drink it in. We'll catch you next week right here on Monday for the Detroit Koolaid Cast and a little fantasy football flavor. We're out.
Pack the bags, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in, man.